Just wanted to discuss a case study with you guys, and we'll pick it up from where we actually stopped. So this is the same feasibility that I've been continuing since. The only difference is that I've just added another sheet to it because I'm wanting to discuss a full case study. So let's say we have a project, and when you get some schematics on a project, that's how you would normally do a feasibility study. So this is just a screenshot from one of my drawings for one of the developments, and this is just 4 dwellings, and they talk about ground floor, they talk about the first floor, they talk about private open space, secluded private open space, porch, and the terrace details. And all I've done is I've just copied them here so I could total them up and see what they come out to be. And this is something that if you have a site that already has plans and permit, this is how you would go about doing your feasibility. It doesn't matter which part of the world you are in. So you have to figure out your gross built area, and we need this because we want to calculate the total construction costs for the project. So if you see, I've got 140 here. That's come from the total of the ground floor and the first floor, and everything else still has to be built. Now, if you already know what your construction rate is per square meter or square feet, you just put that right next to it. Now, this is a simple table. This is a simple spreadsheet. As I said, it has all the qualities of a spreadsheet. And all I've done is added that. You can come in here and turn the grid lines on. I like to keep them off because it helps me focus better. And then all you do is put in your value, including GST or including VAT or any other tax that might be applicable to your country. So in this scenario, I'll just put in maybe, let's say, $1,700 including GST. And now, because I have a construction company as well, where where I've actually analyzed my past data and everything, I know the details of what they come out to be for private open space. For example, I would allow about $1,000 there, or I'll allow another, that won't be about 1,700, because your covered area where your actual livable area is going to be different in terms of cost, and where you are actually going to have private open space or porch or anything, there would be a different rate. So say, for example, secluded private open space is not as much. This is more like a little backyard with a clothesline where you can actually dry your clothes or something. So I would put in maybe about $850 there. Porch, I'll put another $1,100 there, and terrace would also be close to about $1,000 there. So I can just come in and copy all this data and put it right next to it, and I'll get a total of my total square meter. This is just a total. So I know that I need to build 812 square meter or square feet, and to be able to build that, that is what my construction cost is going to be when I actually build that. Now, the NSA stands for net saleable area. So when you actually sell the property, it is not the entire area that you've actually built. Your square meter rate or square feet rate will be based on your covered area, which is ground floor and first floor. The only difference would be that this 140 that we've got here, the livable area that we've got here, that includes, in this instance, includes the garage. See how it says ground floor including garage, including garage, including garage, and including garage. Now this is different because I would not include the garage area in this. So in Melbourne, in my part of the world, or in Australia, all over, it does not include the garage area. So I know that this is a 3-bedroom because it is a double garage. And you can tell by the living space. So 140 square meters is typical of 3-bedder, and 110 square meters is typical of a 2-bedroom townhouse. And then you've got 150, that is also a 3-bedder. So what I would do here is that if I've got 140, I'll just go 140 and a double garage in Melbourne. This is the kind of information that you need to find out for your country. is about 30, between anywhere between 30 square meters to about 34 square meters. So I would just subtract 32 over here, so I know that's my area. And because this is a single garage, I'll just go half of that. So here I would go 110 less maybe 16, and over here I would go maybe again the same, less 16, and here I would again go that minus 32, because we are doing some average numbers to understand what we are going to build and what we'll be able to sell, because a dollar per square meter rate is different when you're selling it, and a dollar per square meter rate will be different when you're actually building it, because building would require the entire area to be built, but when you sell them, only the living space is counted in most countries. But if in your country it's everything is counted, by all means you can put in any number you want over here, so long as you know that this is what is taken into account when you are selling them, or the selling dollar per square feet rate or the dollar per square meter rate is considered to be. So let's come back to the input. So in this scenario, we know that the land is 1.1. This is a 4 by 4. It's actually 4. Let's just change that to 2 into 3 bed, and I'll just put plus 2 into 2 bed townhouses. So I'm going to continue with the same example, and I'll show you what it will look like if you were doing that in Australia, and then what it would look like if you were doing that in another part of the world. So let's do that for Australia first. So we've got 1.1 mil over here. You've got the stamp duty at 5.5%. Legal acquisitions, I will leave that at 0.5%. Number of saleable units. Now in this scenario, I've got 4 saleable units. Now over here, average construction built area per unit. Now, how do I find that number? The way to do that is that I've got 812, and what I'll do is I'll just divide 812 by 4, because I'm building 4 units. So now I know that over here I can actually put 203.2. That's the number that I've got from 203.05. Let's just put 204 for example. It's a nice round number. Now, construction costs per unit of measurement, that is construction cost plus meter square plus square feet, we can calculate the same way over here. So over here, all I've done is I added another total column, and if you see, all it is doing is totaling my total built area for each unit. And over here it's basically an average of. So once I multiply these two columns and get this column here, I total that, and over here I basically divide that total by the total built area to be able to get an average square meter, dollar per square meter rate, or the dollar per square feet rate over here. So once I've got that, that is nothing but an average of all 4 of them. And you can actually do the same thing by basically dividing your total. This total is basically 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's basically totaling all the cost of construction for each of these units. And over here, I'm dividing that by the total built area, which is 812.2. And initially, we had divided that by 4 units to be able to get an average area for each unit, because we are working off certain averages in that area. So let's go back in here. So over here, we've got the average dollar per square meter rate in order to build the whole thing is about $1,400. And over here, I'm just going to allow $1,450. But in your scenario, if you knew that you could do a 2-bedder for, let's say, you could build a 3-bedder for, let's say, 300,000, and a 2-bedder for, let's say, 225,000, you could go that way too, and you could multiply that by 2 of these units, and then we've got 2 of these units. And if you wanted to do a total of that, you could do a total of 2 times the sum, 2 times the sum of that and that. So that way you get, a million. And then you divide the same million by the total built area to be able to get that. And that is also fine. But you can also get an average of these, for example. So you can do another 300,000, and you can do another let's say 225,123, and you can get an average area of these two and these two, and now you know it is 262,500. So if you wanted to just use the other option, that was construction cost per saleable unit, you would go with 262,500 over here. So you can put in 262,500. That is also fine. Or if you know what your total rate for construction is going to be per square feet or per square unit, make sure that you come back here and then you put in the correct value over here, which is 1,400. If you leave 262,500 over there, it's going to multiply that by 816 to be able to get to a very high value, and then you won't know what just happened. So contingency on construction cost, I usually allow 5%. It could be a different industry standard in your country where you could allow something else. For something like this, I would allow 3.5, which is fine. I'll leave that there. You got council contributions because I'm building 4 units. So in my part of the world, I allow 4% of the land value. If you don't know what they are, get in touch with your local council, figure out what the levies are that you will have to pay the council to do to be able to do that development, or any kind of infrastructure levy that you may have to do. Now I'm allowing 4% of the land value, or you could find your council's calculator, put in your details over there and get the number from there for something like this. Marketing expenses, again, 1.7 is fine. Marketing expenses, I'm going to allow $6,500 per unit, per saleable unit. Just be careful with that. And then we've got legals on settlement, 1,650 is fine. Miscellaneous closing costs per unit, about 2,000. Let's say you got to get titles for each one of them. You got to pay the land surveyor to come and do the final title, seal the plan, and then if you get some titles issued, that's for these kinds of costs that you make an allowance. Miscellaneous allowance things that you don't know about, you allowed 4,000. You can actually bump it up to $6,000 a square meter, a per saleable unit, or $10,000 per unit as a blanket contingency, because at this stage you don't know much, you don't have the full information, but you want to do quick numbers to figure out what you are actually going to do. Then we got finance, land or land acquisition cost. I know that I can borrow 80%. And I can borrow that for 5.2%. And my holding period, because I've had a longer settlement, could be maybe just 4 months. That is the time that I settle on the block of land. That is, I have purchased it. The title's been transferred into my name till the time that I've got to start construction. So something like this, as I'd explained earlier. So this is the time on settlement, and from there I've got. In my previous example, we had 18 months before the construction was start. So I'm allowing 4 months in this scenario to start that. And my construction loan against TDC is about 65%. And my interest rate is going to be I'll leave that at 7%. It's going to take me 10 months to build, 1 month to close all my sales. And then my loan draw intensity, I'm going to make that maybe 65%. And my buffer time, I've allowed another extra month. Now let's come back to the sales part of it. Net saleable area per unit. So this is method 1 and this is method 2. So let's look at method 1 first. So net saleable area per unit. So I put in 230 over here because this is the number that I had from my previous feasibility. So in here, see how we were calculating the net saleable area over here. So we spoke about the covered area being sold, and then I deducted the size of the approximate double garage and a single garage here. So I know my total saleable area in this scenario is about 404. I divide that by 4. So if you see, all I'm doing is dividing that by 4. I got 103.5. So in here, I would put 103.5. And now I know this is my total saleable area, but when I actually sell them, I should be able to sell them for, let's say $7,500 a square meter. That will give me a project GRV of 3.105. Now in method 2, see here at the moment, method 2 is selected. If I know that when I sell these units, I can sell them for $800,000 each as an average, I'll put that in. And if you don't know if you can sell them for 800,000 each, you can come back here, do a quick number, quick analysis. Okay, you'll sell 2 units for 750,000. So let's put two units at 750,000, and then another two would go for maybe, let's say, 695, and you can go 695, and then do an average of these, and then you know that your average selling price would be 722,500. So over here I would come in and put 722,500 instead of that. So instantly you'll see that in this scenario I'm actually getting more, or in this scenario I'm getting less. So this is based on which number are you more confident with. Sometimes your market information, you know a few agents in the area who've been around for a while, and you've spoken, you've done your research, you walked these streets, you've been to all these opens for the sale of these townhouses, and you are confident that you can get $7,500 a square meter. Go with this method. But if you know that if you've just done a quick search over the internet and you figure out that, okay, two bettors are going for in this scenario, two bettors are going for 695 in this area, and three bettors are going for 750 in this area. So that's exactly what I should allow for. And then in that scenario, you go with method number 2. Whatever that is, you just have to come in and select the method. The one that you selected gets highlighted in yellow. So if you're confident with this, we'll go with this scenario for the time being. Now, this at the moment hasn't got a commercial section, but if it did, I would go yes over here, figure out my net lettable area, whatever that is, and you can find that out from a little development summary like this that comes with the drawings, and you'll be able to figure out what that is. You'll figure out what the rental rate per meter square or per square meter is in that area. You put those things out, and you make an allowance for all the outgoings, because the cap rate, which is the capitalization rate, can only be used on net rent, not on gross rent. These are the outgoings that have to go out. So it could be 5%, could be insurance, could be other rates and stuff that need to be paid for that property. And then you come up with the capitalization rate and what you will be paying the agent in that area. Once you select all of these things, so there are basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that you got to select, and that's pretty much it. If you can select all of them, you'll get a GRV for the commercial area as well. That'll get added to it. So once this is all done, all I have to do is go back into my add-on and go update Fiso. It starts doing its magic. And once it's done its magic, I can click on the other sheet and I'll see what my numbers are coming out to be. So in this scenario, it's coming out to be 3% profit. So let's see where I'm actually losing money or where the money is going out of my pocket. So when I look at something like this, I can look at my finance costs about 148%, 148,000 for this. So it looks like my end value that I've allowed for the GRV is a lot less. If that is the case in your area, you have to go back in, look at these numbers once again, come back into your input sheet and say, you know what, I think I'm more confident with this. I've done my research. I've figured out that $7,500 is something that I would want to go with, because that's what I was going with in the first place. But it could be that what you put in is 100% correct. And if you put everything correct and it only shows 3%, you know that you don't have to spend any more time on this feasibility, because it hasn't got any legs. You wouldn't do a project that only has 3% development margin on cost, because if something was to happen, you'll end up losing a fair bit of money. So what I try and do with all of this is be as accurate as possible in my assumptions, and still make sure that this worst case scenario never goes into a negative. It's still, even if it's $5, I know that my worst case scenario is break even. So be very, very careful of this, and I wish you all the very best. So just before I go, let's just select method 1 and update this feasibility and see what the numbers look like. And then we can continue with the same example for the international market as well. So let's come back here and over here we've got 9.8. So even with that, I think it's not working correctly because there is a fair bit here. But you can come back here and say, look, I've already got a permit in hand, so I don't need to allow, you know, extra 3% or something, or maybe I just need to allow 5% here, or maybe I'll allow 1% here or 4% there. See what that looks like. So you have to massage your feasibility and come as close to the correct numbers for that time as possible before you actually make a decision. But if this was to come out good and it started showing some good profit, for example, right now it shows 10, so it's not in the red. So anything below red, I've got a conditional formatting set up on this thing so that it goes red and warns you, so that you don't, you know, it sort of takes your mind towards it. So, but even then over here, it's a little bit less than what I would like to achieve. So be very, very careful of this feasibility. And in the next video, we'll do the same feasibility with the international market in mind.